We're going to take a look at our solar scopes. We've got two mounts here that are they've both been unlocked. Essentially, the hand controls have been unlocked to allow us to point whatever telescopes that are on those two mounts at the sun. The other mounts are unable to do that. Now, of course, the different types of telescopes that we have on the mounts, that's a necessity to have a special solar telescope. These are a little bit different. So the mounts themselves will have very, very similar steps to get that pointed at the sun. The telescopes themselves a little bit different. As we move along the way, we might be flipping back and forth between our visual solar telescope and our hydrogen-alpha solar telescope. So let's go ahead and get started. So our very first step is to simply turn on the mounts. Here we have on our CGE, I'm turning on the mount, and on the other telescope, our CGEM, we're going to turn it on here. Now, before we do anything else, obviously safety is a priority here. So with our visual telescope, unlike the hydrogen-alpha solar telescope, which is ready to go out of the box, so to speak, this one, we need to make a modification. We need to put our white light solar filter on. And so the white light solar filter will be found in the Branched Civil Observatory, and it will be found in a container that is appropriately marked. So take a look for that. This is the filter right now at the time of this taping. In the future, we might have something a little bit different. But this is what we're using now. These legs are going to go around the end of the telescope. And then to provide a little bit of extra security, we have some Velcro straps. So I'm going to place this on. Orientation really isn't going to matter. All these straps should find their home just like so. So on the two telescopes, we've already turned these on, and right now we're seeing press enter to begin alignment. I'm going to hit enter, and at this time with the CGE-Pro, it's automatically going into a switch position. In other words, it's going to a 0 position, and it does that automatically. On the other mount, this is our CGEM, our CGEM. This one's a little bit different. It's not able to automatically go to that position. We need to make sure that these two tick marks here and here are pointed at each other, and there are pointed at each other. So for example, if you were to ever come into the observatory and it's off, before you do anything, you're going to need to make sure that those two are pointed right at each other. Same thing with this mount as well, or this the equatorial range there. And I'm just slowly tightening that. You don't have to go too tight, and now it's ready to go. We can go ahead and use this hand control. I'm going to push enter. Here it's saying set it at the 2 index marks, which I have done, and then I hit enter. We'll need to do this on both of the hand controls. We're going to set the time. Now during the day, our clock that's in the corner is a little difficult to see, so you can use your phone or move on over there and just put your hand over the clock and take a look. I can see that it is 17:10, so I'm going to put in, let's go back, 1-7. I'm actually going to put 1-1-0, and I'm just going to wait a moment. And we'll go ahead and say 0, so we have it at 17:11. And I hit enter. We're here in the summer. We are in daylight savings time, also known as summertime. So I'm going to hit enter. And now we're going to put in the date. So we have 05/31. Oh, it's 06 now. Or no, it's still 05. It's 5/31/25. Enter. Now we see our 2-star alignment. As we move the scroll up and down, we have our 1-star align, quick align, last align, etc. But during the day, what you want is the solar system alignment. We hit enter, and now we're going to find a solar system object, and in this case, it's going to be the sun. So essentially what we're doing is a 1-star alignment, and the star that we're using is, well, our closest star, the sun. So I'm just going to hit enter. Now here it's given me a warning about being careful about pointing a telescope at the sun. And we're using our Hydrogen-Alpha solar telescope, so we are safe. I'm going to hit enter, and now the telescope will point as close as it can to the sun. While it's doing this, I'm going to go ahead and get the other telescope doing the same thing. So I just put in those same coordinates or the same information into the hand control for our white light telescope, and it is pointing at the sun. This is, of course, the reason why we want to make sure we get that solar filter on before we do anything. Now, both of the telescopes are pointed very, very near the sun. We just need to get that kind of fine adjustment. So this telescope, the apochromatic refractor, has a red dot finder. The red dot finder does have some covers that generally we take off when we use the red dot finder, but those caps are see-through, and this does have some semblance of optics within it. And having this pointed at the sun might lend a little damage to that finder scope over time. So what I like to use is I have a yellow rubber. This is essentially a 2-inch eyepiece cap, but I'm using it in a little different fashion. I'm actually putting it right there on the end of that finder scope. That's going to protect that finder scope from the rays of the sun. Just remember, at the end of the day, when you're done and you put away the solar filter, go ahead and grab that little cap off as well. Now, if you have the ability to see the shadow well, you can actually use the shadow. And sometimes with solar telescopes that we've set up out on the sidewalk, we can do that. Inside the building here, it's a little bit more difficult. So here are a few things that I like to do. All right, one is I'm going to take my 2-inch focuser or the 2-inch 1.25" adapter out, and looking through the telescope here, I'm able to see, of course, that there is no sun quite yet. But we can view the sun through this safely without an eyepiece. I'm going to use the hand control to just move the telescope, and I'm going to see if I can use the shadow a little bit here. Looking pretty good. Now, if you need to slow the hand control, the way you do that, or if you need to speed it up, is to hit motor speed and then 1 through 9. 1 is the slowest. It's very, very slow. 9 is the fastest, and it's very fast. If you were far away from the sun, you might want to say motor speed 9 and move it. But if you're doing your fine adjustments, I would suggest using motor speed 5, and now we're just going to use these controls here. So I've just looked through the diagonal, and I can see the glare of the sun that has appeared in here. I was able to use the shadow a little bit to get that in place. Now I'm going to find my eyepieces. So let's find those. Come on in here. We've got a few different eyepieces that we can use. Inside of one of the 2 smaller containers, actually this one here, I have Coronado solar telescope eyepieces. We have all the gold eyepieces here. These are matched to go along with the Hydrogen-Alpha solar telescope, and they may even have coatings that help that telescope along. I'm going to, for our apochromatic refractor, I'm going to see how this 14mm eyepiece works, and if we need to, we can change that eyepiece to something a little lower power. But let's take a look and see how it looks. So I'm taking our 2-inch 1.25" adapter, placing the 1.25" eyepiece, the 14mm eyepiece in. We'll place our adapter in and take a look. And we'll center that. So this with the 14mm eyepiece, this is producing a very nice full disc image of the sun. If you want, you can use maybe a 26mm eyepiece to get a little lower power, but I do like the power that we have here. I'm going to go ahead and focus this just so we can enjoy the surface of the sun. But do remember, we're not quite done yet because we are still in the alignment procedure. And on here, it's saying center the sun. And if you remember with the two-star alignment, we actually we center the sun. That's essentially just pointing it in the right direction. And now we say align the sun. We're going to hit the align button now, and the alignment is a success. One thing to remember, if you're someone who likes to use the last alignment technique for aligning a telescope in the evening skies, do remember that if you use the telescope earlier that day and you used it on the sun, you essentially just did a single star alignment. So it's not going to be the most accurate. It's going to be great for the daytime use, but later that night you'll want to go ahead and do a two-star alignment. So right now, sun looks fantastic, and we've got some great sunspots in the view. Let's take a look at the other telescope. So using the shadow, I was able to make sure that the telescope was pointed at the sun. And then when we look through this little solar finder here, we call this the Sol Ranger. Using this little solar finder, I can see a dot in the corner. And we'll zoom in so you can see the dot in the corner there. That's the sun itself. And I'm going to use the hand controller to get that dot to be in the center. That's pretty good, pretty close. Now we're ready to put an eyepiece in. So I'm going to use the Coronado, one of the gold eyepieces, and in this case I'm using the 25mm eyepiece. We'll place that into the diagonal. Now with this telescope, we're going to look here in a moment to center the sun, but with this telescope there are a few things that we need to know. If this telescope has been used maybe for outreach or we move the telescope, this nose piece here might have gotten moved in or out. It needs to be fully extended, and I actually have a little graphic here to remind you that that needs to be fully extended. So once that's fully extended, I'm going to tighten those like so. Now with our old solar telescope, we literally had to move the nose piece of the diagonal in and out, but with this new telescope, new solar scope, we're no longer moving it here, we can move it here. So if you need to move the nose, you'll move it at this place here. And I actually have it written, loosen here to rotate diagonal. So it's not just for moving in and out, but it's also to rotate it to make it in a more convenient location for someone to view the sun. So I'm going to remove the dust cap. And it is in view, but I need to use the hand control to center that. I placed it on speed 5. Speed 5 or speed 6 is a good speed for this. Now we do not have a rack and pinion focus here. We have a helical focus. So this is our focus here. And if you take a look and you're not able to get that to focus, that just means that this nose piece needs to be moved in or out just a little bit. So, okay. Move that in the position where it looks relatively in focus, and then I'm going to use the helical focus to do a fine focus. And it looks absolutely fantastic in H-alpha. Now there is another adjustment that we can do with this telescope. Right over here, we have an adjustment which is essentially taking the front filter here, this energy rejection filter, and tilting it, literally tilting it on a hinge here. And so you can see that opening up as I move that and then move back again. It's a very, very little tilt, but what this is doing is actually looking for or focusing on the light that is slightly blue shifted, i.e. the light that's coming directly at us. So long story short, moving this will change the ability to see features on the surface of the sun. So it might actually take away from the features on the edge of the sun. So what you'll want to do is to move this in and out, probably near its greatest inclination to really bring in and find kind of a happy medium between seeing the prominences on the edge of the sun and the features on the surface of the sun. Here's the one issue with it though. You need to have a pretty long arm. I'm lucky enough that I can reach up here and view through here simultaneously and move this until I find a happy medium between seeing detail on the surface of the sun and seeing prominences on the edge of the sun. For some folks, however, that may not have as long of an arm, you may have to have a second person move that, and then you can just tell them move one direction. If it looks good, great. If not, move the other direction until you have just exactly what you're looking for. So now we have safely aligned our two solar telescopes. You can see there were some similarities and there were some differences. Shutdown procedure. So I'm going to bring up the menu. I'm then going to scroll down until we get to utilities. We hit enter. Then I'm going to scroll down. I'm scrolling all the way around until we get to home position. I'll hit enter and then hit enter again to go to. Once we do that, it's going to put the telescope back in that zero home position. The reason why it didn't take very much time on the onset was that because the last person that used it shut it down correctly, put it at the home position where we have here. Now we are most likely away from the sun, so we could safely take that solar filter off and then house that in its own protective box. You'll then take the rest of the telescope down, put on the dust cap, take out the eyepiece, put that away, turn it off, put on the cover, etc.